one of the bigger things that I see with some maybe like newer sellers or maybe like even just like newer products, sometimes even with existing products, is that they're not ranking on anything really. I mean, they're ranking on like 4 or 5 keywords, and at that point they're at like, and they're still at like this like the 20th, 25th spot, and the rest are like that we pull up from the report are just zero. So how important is it? This is kind of getting into, again, I know keywords are kind of going away, um, but right now they're still important. So how how important is it to be ranked across? Is it more quantity over quality, or is it quality over quantity? Obviously, you probably want both. But if you had to pick one of the other ones, just sort of a side topic, the other one, what like between the two, what do you think in quality or quantity?
Well, for me, it's just where you convert best. So that's really what matters. I would say quantity, obviously, you want to be spread out in front of as many eyes that are relevant as possible, but that keyword is relevant, right? We don't want to be focusing on ranking and things that we're not going to get a conversion in. So, what we like to say of velocity is we cast a wide net in the beginning. If you're brand new, we're going to cast a wide net and we're going to let the customers tell us. That's why Helium 10 and those tools are so, and brand analytics and Amazon are so powerful, because we kind of start out with that wide net, but then we start honing in on where are we converting. You'd be really surprised. Sometimes it's keywords that you weren't even expecting, and then that's one of your best sellers and it's driving, a majority of your sales. So really it is kind of a volume play in the beginning, and then you start shaving off that volume and really honing in on the things that are converting for you, and then that becomes a quality play. So in answer to your question, I think it's both, but it's a process.
Yeah, you definitely want to incorporate, a lot of the data that you're mining and finding is incorporating that. And that's kind of how you create a solid listing, right? That's how you do your titles. That's how you do your bullet points. That's how you do your infographics. That's how you do your A+ pages. It all comes in based off that data. It's not a lot of the things that you see out there. You're like, oh, this looks amazing, looks really pretty. But everything is, there's certain data and touch points in there, and there's a purpose, right? It's the reuse this word instead of another word, right? It's all because it makes sense. Time and time again, I see this all the time. You have copywriters that write for a website, and you have clients who are like, hey, and we send them copy for Amazon listing. There's like, well, the copywriter doesn't like it. And we're like, listen, we're writing based off the data we see on Amazon and what's going to maximize for your listing on Amazon, not not what's for your website. So that's a big distinguisher. We go through that all the time, don't we, Stephanie?
Oh yeah, I tell people all the time, we write the listings for the computer and the customer, right? We want the listings to be compelling. We do look at the competitors, we look at their reviews, we see what pain points people are having with the competing products, and then we strategically write the listings so that we're a more premium product than the competition. But we also seamlessly integrate it with keywords. And a lot of times, like James said, you get clients that aren't familiar with Amazon and they're like, I don't like that. And it's like, but you have to. I mean, you want it to not look keyword stuffed. You want it to read really well, but it does need to have certain keywords that maybe in your social media or your Google isn't your best keyword, but hey, on Amazon, that's where you're making your sales. And so James is right about that. We do go back and forth with client, because at the end of the day, it's all the data. The data is all that matters. Emotion and what you think your product lives in does not matter. It's the data, and the proof is in the pudding. So, yep. One thing I was going to mention with you to piggyback off Pete on the keyword ranking isn't going to matter anymore. That is actually, in my opinion, we don't know how Rufus is going to affect with the semantic search, but I have done a lot of thought on this recently, and I think keywords are still going to matter. I think that the way you rank in the keywords is going to change, and that's going to matter more on not just, the keywords that are in your listing, but who your listing is directed towards, like how, like who, like what's in your images, what's in your video, what's in your reviews, what's in your Q&A. Does your product solve the question that that person is asking? And I think that the algorithm is going to be looking at more than keywords, but I think that essentially at the end of the day, you're still going to be ranking in keywords, and you're still going to be monitoring that metric. It's just the way to get there is going to be completely different than anything we've ever known.
I know I've heard a lot of talk about like listings with that are just keywords stuffed aren't going to do as well as these
Heard.
listings that are, like you said, answer the question better. So yeah, a lot of changes coming, and what else is new with Amazon? But yeah, no, absolutely. I think it'll still be relevant. I just don't. I think that, like you said, answering the questions that people are looking and searching for are going to be more they're better at helping you convert.
Yeah, you can't just be lazy and sit on keywords anymore. I mean, your whole listing has to be on point. Your whole branding has to be on point, and you really have to be targeting that avatar in your listing and not just in the keywords. So, yeah, I mean, but I do think that essentially at the end of the day, you're still going to rank in a keyword because that's how you're going to be showing up in search. So,
Yeah, it was kind of. I noticed a couple of things with a client that they had was an image of a coffee in one of their imagery, and Amazon automatically classified put some in their browse node as a beverage. It's not. It's not. It's a gourmet item, which I thought was kind of interesting. So they're playing with these tools now, and see probably little test markets here and there. Um, so Stephanie's 100% right. It's going to be how how relevant are the imagery, right? Are you using the popular
yeah.
lifestyles? Are you like you could have like a CCW, which is a concealed carry belt or something like that. And if you have just a picture of a gun, you got to make sure that you could get flagged, you could get there could be a lot of things if you don't mention it at all. You want to make sure that you cover all your bases. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting this year and the years to come.
Yeah, to piggyback off him, like I know this isn't an AI discussion, it's a keyword discussion, but Amazon is doing a lot of AI on the back end. So they're preparing listings to get ready for semantic search as well. And so we're noticing that a lot of Amazon sending over notices to say, hey, we want to change your title to this because we think that it would, convert better. And you can opt for them to change it or you can opt out of it, right? And so that's where that Helium 10 tool comes in so handy because you can really go, okay, this is how Amazon wants to change my title. Does it make sense? And you can do that deep dive with the research tools to see, okay, does that keyword that Amazon told me make sense in my listing, right? And things of that nature. So AI is changing the game. I think it's going to be very helpful in some way. I know a lot of people out there are like screaming doomsday about Amazon's AI changing their titles. I think that, I think it's concerning because I think if they do change your titles, you don't notice that it's going to be impossible to change back. I've been hearing that it's very hard to change back if you don't notice it. But I think in a lot of respects, it's doing you a favor, right? Because it's telling you Amazon has the deepest data on Amazon in the world, right? So if they're telling you that your listing would convert better with this keyword in it, that's based off data that they've pulled. And probably 9 times out of 10, it's legit. It's just something that with tools you can check out to make sure that it does make sense for you and your brand.